Well gang, today we are replacing the hydraulic suspension spheres on the Land Cruiser. It is my 2003 Cruiser, the one that I kept, not the one that I smashed into 1,000 pieces and sold for spares. It's running about a 2-inch lift now, 35-inch tyres, and the suspension spheres are totally shot. The suspension is really bouncy, and I've had a pressure warning from the pump because it's going over pressure, and that's why the front suspension collapsed in a previous video. So it's going over pressure because the spheres are totally gubbed. Gubbed is a good Scottish word for you. So I'm going to pull these off. 2 tools is all that I'm going to need. A 10mm spanner for bleeding and a 36mm spanner for taking off the spheres. I've been spraying them with penetrating oil every few days for about 2 weeks now, and I'm hoping they're going to be easy to remove. One thing I have to watch out for is my wheel spacers, because they bring the tyre quite far out. So when I drop this, draining it of the fluid, I don't want to destroy my new wings, so I'm going to have to keep an eye out for that. I'm going to put it in low, I'm going to drain all the fluid out of the header tank and just get cracking with removing the globs. It seems like it'll be straightforward. Wish me luck.
Moments later.
It's draining my AHC fluid. That used to be bright pink, and now it's a horrible orange-brown colour. Yuck. That is absolutely disgusting. Got my milk jug with my 316 hose, and I'm just gonna crack that 10mm. Everything's completely plastered in penetrating oil, as you can see. Let's give that a little tweak and let her run. I think that's probably all she's got at the back there in terms of height, so we'll just loosen that off some more. Okay, 1. Now the front, this is the tricky one, because I'm pretty sure that wheel, that tyre, is coming from my shiny new wheel arches. So I'm gonna go slowly here with this one. Okay, let's see if the juice starts coming. Wow, look at that. Let's just not focus on that too long. Now, when you're first putting your spanner on, you do have to kind of waddle it onto place because it's so rusty, but it's 20 odd years in Scotland. It's in remarkably good shape in terms of that connection. The old one, new one. 200,000 miles. You can see inside. Looks like the valve is blocked there. I'm going to cut this open and see. And that one looks identical. There we go. If you're buying the genuine Toyota fluid, you can take your globe, you can put it in the end, and you can slosh it. And that gets a bit of the fluid around the rim here to make it easier to seat. That is as complicated as I made it. Alright, that is all 4 globes done. That took less than an hour. So far the only tools that I've used is the 10mm spanner to do the bleed valve, and then the 36mm to do the 36mm fan clutch. That is all I've used so far, and a bucket. But if we look here, that was all the drainage from bleeding the system. That is everything from the header tank. That's maybe 2 litres in there. And it's not even on the bump stops yet. And I was worried that with my spacers it would smash my new wheel arch, but it did not. Now I'm going to top up the system, turn the suspension on, turn the engine on, run the pump, and see if it restores height. And I'll just need to make sure that I top this up first so that I don't send air bubbles in. But honestly, this has been much easier than I anticipated. touch wood, it stays that way. Alright, now I'm going to raise this thing up, and while I do, I'm going to eat some brisket and put this up into low. Okay, yeah, I did that very quickly. Wow. That popped up like a jack-in-the-box. Try neutral. Wow, it used 2/3 of what I put in. 2/3 of the fluid I added is gone already. So let's top that up and stick it into high. Alright, time for high mode. Now this car hasn't been in high in months. Right, I'm going to send it to low and back to high again. Okay, that's in low, which means the maximum amount of fluid is now in the tank. So let's go and see how much is in the reservoir before I do a bleed. A lot. So after I bleed this, there's a very good chance that I'll have to drain some more out. So I'll do a bleed, I'll put the system in neutral, and I'll see what the tank looks like. But that's a lot that's in there right now. Really not much bleeding required there, just a little bit of foam and then it's tip top. We've got 4 and a bit millipascals at the moment. Normal readings are around sort of 6 to 7. There's a whole chart, but I'm just looking to get around 6. So we've got 5 in the rear, 6.5 in the front. That is great. And the rears, I'm expecting to have them a little lower because I think it was my rear accumulators that were in worse condition. I'll be cutting them open to find out. But I think the rear accumulators with a screwed one, because it was sagging when the car was off for a while, I reckon it was my rear globes. But I've got great big springs and spring spacers, so that should run low pressure generally. And then the front one being around that 6.5, that's good shape. I'm just going to turn us up to high. See what that gives us. Oh, that is great. Oh, so pleased with that. Right, let's get back down into neutral. And having checked my pressures, it's time for a little test drive.
5 minutes later.
Here I am back in neutral. Here's one thing that I didn't expect. I've just been out for a drive, just a few miles, come back in, cycled my suspension pressure, and now my front pressure sensor is at 5.4. So I'm gonna go low to high again and just check that's still at 5.4. Because if it is, that should be in the region of like 6.8, 6.9. So I think I have to unwind my front torsion bars, because to be honest, the ride on that test drive was still very crashy. I think maybe my front torsion bars are now too preloaded for the new spheres, and I'm going to be able to unwind them a bit. That will be lovely.
Moments later.
Right, cycled back to neutral, and we are at 5.4 on the front pressure sensor. This is good news. This means I can unwind the torsion bars a bit. Oh, happy days, didn't expect that. Well, that's it, we're done. Globes are in. I've been able to reduce my suspension pressures by undoing some of the torsion bar preload. That took me 2.5 hours, because I had all my stuff in one place and I'm working in the dry. That is about 2 litres of oil, so maybe 2.5, including some spillage and some bleed out. I've used 2.5 litres. So you can absolutely do this. You could do this in your driveway. You don't even need to have a level surface unless you're testing suspension pressures like I was. That's great. I think I'm going to have to keep unwinding the torsion bars and testing the pressures over the coming weeks so that I can bring it down. But that's good news. You can absolutely do this. I mean, it uses 2 tools, so that's a 1 to 2 banana job. I can't believe Toyota charged $3 for that. Or that people, you know, rip the whole suspension setup out for the sake of £600 worth of globes and 2 tools, which you can buy cheap on the internet. So overall, I'm very happy with that. It was much easier. I thought I was going to be here all day and some of tomorrow, but no, 2.5 hours end to end, including a test drive and some messing around with texturing. Don't be intimidated by this one. This one is a very simple, straightforward job to do. The one thing I would say is in my advantage, I don't have the running boards, the side steps. If the brackets are still in place for the side steps, that's going to be harder. But overall, I'm very impressed. But you could do this. Have a go. It's not too expensive in tools, it's not too expensive in time, and it's much cheaper than ripping all the suspension out and putting in a new spring setup. Anyway, as always, if this video was useful, let me know. Do subscribe if you want to see more maintenance being done. Sorry about the greasy phone, it's gotten quite mucky today. Stay safe, make good decisions, and I'll see you in another video. Thanks everyone, bye.